Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you had a fantastic Halloween recently and watched loads of great horror classics. Now in today's video, I really wanted to do a little review on Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween that came out way back in 2007 because I recently purchased this on Prime and I rewatched it after quite a few years, and I've got a lot of thoughts, watching this after the recent Halloween reboot, Halloween Ends and all that. Before I get started, if this is your first time here, then please don't forget to hit that subscribe button as it really helps the channel out. Okay, so Rob Zombie's Halloween is a total remake of the John Carpenter classic, and I've actually watched 3 different versions of Rob Zombie's Halloween, which is just really weird. So the first version that I ever saw when it was first available to watch online in 2007 was this version where it ended with Michael on the ground, and I can't remember if he fell out of a building or if he was just maybe shot down by Dr. Loomis, but the movie ended with the camera at a bird's eye view of Michael, and it was panning up really slowly, and we can hear some of the recordings that Michael had with Dr. Loomis when he was a child playing in the background before the end credits rolled. And that's the first version that I ever saw, and I can remember thinking to myself at the time that the ending was complete garbage. The second version of this movie had a completely different and extended ending, and I feel that this is the version that most of us have seen and have got to know about. And in this ending version, Laurie has a final showdown with Michael, and Michael then pretty much rugby tackles her out of a window, I think it was, and then they're both on the ground. Laurie is bleeding from head to toe, looking like complete death. She then climbs on top of Michael with a gun, and she then shoots him in the face, ending with her screaming and just covered in her own blood and Michael's blood, and then the Halloween music plays and the credit rolls. So that version had a completely different ending and it was much better. Now the third version that I watched on this weekend just gone had the same ending that I just talked about with Laurie shooting Michael in the face, but what it didn't have was a really horrible rape scene that happens halfway through the movie. Now, I bought this on Prime on the weekend, and it's available for any of you guys to go and buy and keep on your Prime account. But basically, in the original cut of this movie, and I'm pretty sure it was in the cinema version, there is a rape scene where 2 workers at Smith's Groves rape a female patient in front of Michael before Michael kills them both and then he escapes. Now, in this version, that scene does not exist. Instead, Michael is being transferred out of Smith's Grove, and he ends up attacking the transfer staff as they're opening and unlocking the doors, and I've never seen this version before. I was sitting there watching it over the weekend and I was thinking, I do not remember this, but I tell you what, I actually prefer this version. I don't like that rape scene that we originally got. It's classic Rob Zombie going way too far in his movies, in my opinion, and I'm so glad that the Prime version got rid of the scene completely and used an alternative one. So that's the 3 different versions of Rob Zombie's Halloween that I have watched. Now, what do I actually think of this movie as a whole? Well, when I first watched it back in 2007, I can remember thinking to myself that the movie does take a little while to get going. The best way to describe it is that this movie is kind of like got 3 complete different sections, and it's almost like a documentary of Michael, as he's a child, and then we get to see him in the hospital, and then we get to the 3rd act. There are moments that I absolutely love and moments that I really dislike. There are way too many vile characters in this movie that we just really didn't need. Also, if you ever plan on watching this movie with your parents, then I really would think again on that one, just because of the type of language and dialogue and the amount of tits that you see in this movie. It's a bit over the top, but once again, this is what Rob Zombie is known for, which I suppose is, it can work in some of the other films that he's made, but when you are remaking a John Carpenter classic that didn't rely on anything like this, then you really shouldn't mess around with dialogue that was never broken in the first place. There are some really great kills in this movie. I think the most disturbing one for me is when a young Michael Myers beats a school kid to death in the woods with a hockey stick near the beginning of the movie. Also, this version of adult Michael Myers is absolutely friggin' massive. He is so tall, I honestly think that this is the biggest looking Michael Myers I have ever seen. Rob Zombie's version of Halloween is very different to the original. It's a lot more violent, which I suppose isn't too surprising in this day and age, but there are some scenes that he has clearly tried to recreate but put a slight twist on it, I suppose. For example, the bit when Michael is dressed up in a ghost sheet, and also when he chases Laurie down the street back to the house after she finds the bodies. Now, some of the chase scenes were quite intense. I found this version of Michael was moving a lot faster than the original one, which I think made him actually a lot more scary during the chase scenes in the movie. We also have a new version of Dr. Loomis, who I don't think does a very bad job. I mean, nobody will ever be able to beat our favorite original Dr. Loomis. It will just never happen, but they did a good job with this one, and the same with Laurie Strode. I actually did like this version of Laurie. I didn't realize this when I first watched Halloween 2007, but the actress who plays Annie is little Jamie Lloyd, who appeared in, Halloween 4 and Halloween 5, the original ones, which was really nice to see. Rob Zombie used some of the original music from Halloween in certain scenes and in the soundtrack, which I was really glad, because when, directors do things like that, it's paying great homage and respect to the originals. Now, after watching this over Halloween weekend recently, I have come to the conclusion that I think I like this movie a lot more now than when I did back in the late noughties. I don't really know why I'm enjoying it a lot more 15 years later, but I really am. I think what also helped is that I now own a version of this movie, without that awful rape scene, which does help. And I think when you remake a horror movie, you automatically compare it way too much to the original. But I think after the release of Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, I no longer find myself comparing Rob Zombie's version to the original. I think now I just look at Rob Zombie's version as a completely separate movie in its own right. Like I said, it does have some really great moments, and I think all it needed doing was toning down on some of the unnecessary vile dialogue that was being used in certain parts of the movie. And I have seen worse Halloween sequels compared to this remake. Is this movie scary? It wasn't for me. I didn't find it scary at all, but I did enjoy it and I found it really entertaining. It's definitely a movie that I will always go back and rewatch from time to time in my Halloween collections. So that's all of my thoughts on Rob Zombie's Halloween. Now let's hear some of your thoughts. What do you guys think of this remake? I've seen, some comments all over the internet saying that they actually prefer this to the recent Halloween Ends movie, but let me know all of your thoughts, guys, in the comments box below. Okay then, guys, thank you all for stopping by and watching this video today. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, stay safe out there, and I will see you all again very soon.